Thank you for allowing John Deere to be a part of the event today. My name is Adrian Saenz. I am the Division Business Manager for the Western Sales Region, supporting a little over 30 of the Western dealers for our Ag and Turf Division in North America. I have a connection to the West. I was spending most of my career, early in my career in the West, and I'm pleased to be here with you today at the Potato Business Summit to really share a little bit of where John Deere sees some of the future of precision ag playing a part in reshaping the industry. Today, I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about the future and kind of what John Deere sees as the future of precision ag playing a part in reshaping this industry of agriculture. But first, as I kind of get going here, I feel that 2021 was just an incredible, complex and dynamic year. And so I want to say thank you for all of you for facing what were unprecedented headwinds in 2021. Born out of the pandemic, the global dependencies and sort of the issues that arose with supply chains created a lot of disruption on us, our partners, our customers, and left a lot of frustrated buyers and sellers around the world. But it highlighted more than ever that the role that we play in agriculture and the role that we play in securing food for people around the world is something that merits great regard. And so I want to say thank you for that. And then also for a good number of you guys, the West survived a tremendous uptick in adverse weather patterns. We had a number of different areas that were impacted by historic droughts. Many of our potato growing regions struggled to get all the water and moisture that they needed. And certainly, like all other things compounded, it made 2021 into a year that was a difficult one to thrive in. But we know that we were fortunate to make a great year. And I hope that you and your families made a fantastic year-end result with a strong harvest. So as Deere looks at kind of the way the future is looking at the future of ag, I think we're certainly on a really important point in our history. The next 1 to 3 years, I think, really present one of the most unique times to embrace what we think is the next era of precision agriculture and to enhance and drive the way you manage your farm's challenges. We don't have to look very far. We can look at the volatility of all the inputs from fertilizer, labor, machine costs, and other inflation costs, and real things that are having an impactful impact on your bottom line. Just on fertilizer alone, 40 to 50% increases in things like nitrogen and 300% increases in potash, are making input management a little hard to predict and largely unsustainable. And so when you think of just the cost of application and the things that you do as farmers, getting the chemical to the right place in the right time and managing those inputs is just ever so much more critical. And then, we're not alone in the labor market of facing what we think is unprecedented wage inflation across the board. Most of you guys at least had a 10%, 20% increase in the cost on labor. And so as other industries struggle to find labor, they're pulling from a ever decreasing labor pool for farm workers and qualified people. And certainly that is adding another pain and pressure point for us. You think of the other parts of the operation from logistics side, logistics costs were up tremendously as well. I mean, we had export containers going past 300% over 2 years ago. And so it is an unprecedented level of impact and challenge right now for the American farmer to think about how they manage these things and deal with the shortages in drivers, and getting crop out of the field has become almost secondary to managing all these external pressures. But it's not just that, it's also land. If you look at land, the price of land has gone up, and strong harvests in the years past, low interest rates, and low available inventories for farmland have just really driven tremendous amount of pressures for people to get the most out of every inch and acre of land. And then, when you think about how we manage all this stuff and kind of manage through this, machine costs and smarter equipment has become more plentiful, and it's been harder to get the latest and greatest technology because of the shortage of chips. But at the same time, it is our hope at John Deere that what we're bringing is an opportunity cost worth investing in, and an opportunity cost that pulls forward flows of data to help you identify opportunities and really build a sustainable advantage worth investing in. So as you look at data and sort of what it has provided for us, it's certainly probably important to note that for most of us who don't look at the bits and bytes and the amount of data that we actually are ingesting and processing day to day, the amount of data being generated off the farm is growing at 10x every 2 years. So if you step back for a second and think about that, you're generating 10 times the amount of data every 2 years. Every 2 crop rotations or every 3 crop rotations, you're getting a huge, huge amount of data collected that needs to be used in a better and more informed way. And so, one of the things that I think data will do in the next 1 to 3 years is become magnified in the way that we use it to identify problems and ultimately be more prescriptive. So in identifying problems, many of you have already been using things like yield maps and satellite imagery and so forth. But when you combine that and overlay it with things like Field Analyzer and other tools, you help really magnify and isolate those problem areas in the field and look down at the individual field conditions to understand the factors that are driving your variance in productivity and ultimately in yield. And so, there's just so much data and so much benefit to being more prescriptive. And overlaying more and more layers of data is like having a digital almanac of all your family's prior history's knowledge of running the farm, and being able to look back and say, we know how to do it better going forward because we have the history and the data and the accuracy of the past. So, it's just an amazing, amazing thing what data is allowing us to do on the other side of things and the way we get work done as well. So if you look at the way we're getting work done today versus 5 to 10 years ago, and just talk about work processes and using assets and fleets of machines, the work processes that are being employed today by largely low level or part-time labor are really benefiting from the use of this digital plan. And we use things like Work Planner and centralized work planning tools that help us do more with the information that we need to have in front of operators, in front of farm managers, to not just drive asset utilization, but drive consistent job execution. Because if we do the way the job was intended and do it consistently, we drive less variability, and less variability means greater profitability. I mentioned to you that machine costs are getting higher, and there's a lot of data that's coming from machines. And so with labor costs getting higher, there's also a tremendous influence right now in the industry of people looking at machine and operator data benchmarks to really improve, optimize operator runtime and productivity. So as we get better at doing benchmarks and looking at productive time versus idle time, and we get better at looking at labor costs and managing those labor costs against productivity, we feel very, very confident that data is going to feed both prescriptive identification and resolution of problems, and also very, very confident that it's going to drive improved work processes that drive better results and outcomes. So, when you think about some of the other things that data is allowing us to do, and I talked about some of the challenges that farmers have faced over 2021 with the variability in terms of costs and just global things going on around the world. The other thing that's showing a lot of promise right now in terms of using data is the convergence of tools that help you forecast your profitability. And so with all these new data inputs and the power of AI, the power of more predictive analysis that you can use, things like Harvest Profit allow you to forecast on a field-by-field basis and organize those decisions accordingly. And so think of farm data as your biggest ally in managing the risks and driving those outcomes. So, as you think about all this data, it's just not stopping there. And at John Deere, we feel an immense commitment to our brand and to the company to really focus on building smarter and more effective machine forms. And if you go back in our history, John Deere started all on the premise of building a simple, better steel plow. And from that grew an immense potential and interest in driving innovation. Aside from the fact that John Deere has been investing in precision ag in this space for over 25 plus years, we have a number of internal teams focusing on the next generation of smart equipment. Without question, having sensors, data, technologies, and input from farmers and actual location data is making our machines smarter. It's making them more agile. It's making them more seamlessly able to integrate the use of sensors and important data that you have that's unique about your operation to provide feedback to the operator, to your data analysis platform, and to your trusted partners who give you advice to optimize your operation. We also build on the fact that with smarter machine forms comes built-in monitoring systems that can leverage things in the future like predictive AI, data management systems that can use predictive AI, and things that will drive a lot better decision-making and just optimize every part of that farm's management from end to end. Just this week, John Deere had some exciting news about taking a majority stake in Kriesel Electric, an electric and hybrid technology company based in Austria. This is incredibly important to add on to this discussion of data and tools and future machine forms, because with the growing demand for electronics on equipment, so does come the importance of having an option for high density battery powered designs that are better able to sort of mimic and drive certain functions within the machine, ultimately sort of optimizing the power and the precision of what these farm machines can bring. So through a lot of that effort and the exciting news about things like the Kriesel Electric acquisition and stake, what I think you'll see in the future is a continued push in electrification that really builds on a number of different aspects of our unique capabilities to sense and understand and execute farming tasks. And so with a great degree of confidence, I can tell you that we're moving faster towards autonomous machine forms that are smart, that are sensitive, that understand and execute the job with greater degrees of precision. We know that farmers need solutions that drive important, upticks in sort of efficiency with labor, and we know that the ability to do this is just another way that will show that John Deere is committed to reshaping what's important in the next phase of the agricultural revolution. So I've shared with you a lot of information that hopefully gives you some context around John Deere and where we're at with agriculture, the importance of data, and really how it's reshaping the speed in which we are in history right now with the use of different technology, machine forms, and electrification. We see our role with you as an important step in meeting the world's demands for an increasing need for fuel, food, shelter, and infrastructure. But we know that our greatest obligation is to keep you productive and efficient part of the future as we work this land together. So thank you, and full speed ahead to you in helping feed the world.